My mom tells this great story about an accidental visit that they had here 23 years ago with my daddy. I'm going to share that with you, and that's the reason that we ended up here. There's not a lot of options for lodging in this area as you make your way to the Grand Canyon from Flagstaff, and I dare say there was probably much less 23 years ago. My mom was very surprised on our visit to find the growth that had happened in this area. Still not a lot there, more than when they were there. Here's her story. Now it was beginning to get late in the day for them, and they started looking for a place to stay just outside of Flagstaff. She recalls passing one motel that didn't look quite so good, so they moved on. It was beginning to get dark, and the next place they come across was the Cameron Trading Post. They saw the fencing around it, and it was a bit dark, so they decided to travel on and go ahead and see what other options might be around. You know, that was back in the days before GPS, Siri, travel apps around me. Can you believe they actually had to rely on an actual paper map to travel? What a primitive form of travel, I know. But to be truthful, we had a paper map with us as well. My mom took a look at the map and found the bigger dot. For those that are not fluent in ancient map reading, the bigger dot equals a bigger city. Trekking onward, they arrived at the bigger dot, or the bigger city, and there were several hotels there, but they were all full. At that point, there were many tour buses that had been checking in for the evening, which left no rooms for them. So their only hope at this point was to try to find their way back to Cameron, to that little place that had the fence around it and was dark, to see if there was a room available there. As they entered the building, they were so very surprised and impressed by the beauty in just the gift shop and the check-in area alone. And it was their lucky day. A room was available. Walking into their room also took them by surprise. It had beautiful decorations and furnishings, which were all Native American. Now, the restaurant was still open, so they decided to go ahead and walk over for what would be an amazing dinner in an equally beautiful restaurant. Now, it had these big picture windows that were all along one wall, but it was dark outside, so they had no idea what the view would be until the next morning. Now, their bellies were full, so it was time to go to bed so they could get a start to the Grand Canyon the next morning. Morning arrived, and out the door they went. What did they discover? A stunning hotel, amazing grounds, but the most surprising thing was the views. Now, this hotel is placed on a rim of its very own little mini canyon. They decided they were going to go back to the restaurant for breakfast, and they could finally see the view of what was outside those picture windows that morning. I've heard this story many times since I was 30 years old, and I've always been impressed by the story and always wondered what it would look like in person. So when my mom and I started planning this trip and knew the area we were going to be in, we knew we wanted to be able to stay here at least a night. Well, fast forward 23 years to May 2023, and my mom and I also arrived at dark, so I had no idea what the views would be like. Well, maybe I had a little bit of an idea, but you just do not know until you get to see it yourself. Check-in for the hotel is located inside of the gift shop, and what a cool place that is. It is an art gallery, gift shop, and there is a market there. It has authentic Native American offerings and the usual gift shop needs, loaded with lots of Grand Canyon souvenirs. We immediately went to the restaurant to have dinner as soon as we checked in. It was almost closing time, so we wanted to be sure to have dinner before going to bed. Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful place. And the food was absolutely delicious. Bellies were now all filled up, and it was time to find our room. This is the only minimal complaint I have about the trading post. It was dark when we had checked in, and the location of our room was a little bit difficult to find. Probably a little bit bigger sign, markings in the parking lot, and a little bit of a light on the sign might make it better for this location, but that is the only complaint that we had. When we finally opened the door to our room, oh my goodness, it was stunning and so spacious. Now the price was $189 plus tax, but look at this room. It was absolutely incredible. Our room had a living area with a kitchen bar area and a dining area. The bathroom was huge and the bedroom was so spacious. The decor, spot on. It is absolutely what you would expect staying near the Grand Canyon with the beautiful Native American decorations. This was for sure the most beautiful place that we stayed out of all 13 nights of lodging on our trip. The value, the size, the space, the cleanliness was well worth the money spent. What a wonderful place to rest, relax, and unwind from traveling. I mean, just take a look outside your door. It is a little piece of heaven just steps away. We would really recommend taking a couple of days at least to stay here and enjoy all of the beautiful things that surround you. Not only are you close to the gardens, but the rooms are just steps away from the gift shop and the restaurant, making it very convenient to get around. Even with some mobility issues, you should be able to get around the location here quite well. Breakfast is not included here, but our dinner was so great that we wanted to eat at the restaurant once again before we left, and there's not many options around anyway. Let me tell you, breakfast was wonderful. It was about $13 a piece. And we also wanted to try something we'd seen on the menu called Navajo fry bread. It was incredible. Oh, we've really been missing out on that. They served it with honey, butter, cinnamon, and powdered sugar. So you can sort of think a funnel cake, but lighter, fluffier, and even more scrumptious. So breakfast was a big score here, and you're not going to want to miss out on that, nor trying the bread. Do you remember those big picture windows I told you about not being able to see out of at dark? Well, breakfast we were able to see, and the view was so very pretty. The Cameron Trading Post has been here for over 100 years, y'all. The gift shop has over 8,000 square feet, featuring all kinds of beautiful Native American items. Handmade jewelry, baskets, rugs, pottery, you name it, they have it. It's also the perfect place to pick up your Grand Canyon souvenirs, things like t-shirts, baseball caps, shot glasses, and more. I was able to pick up some sunglasses there because I broke mine the day before. So be sure to shop around. They offer things from the Navajo, Hopi, and Apache Native Americans. Each building of the hotel is multiple level. It appears that there's no elevators, only steps. So if you need handicap accessibility or if you have some mobility issues, you will certainly want to make sure that you have something that is accessible to you when you book your room. The Trading Post is located on the rim of its own little mini canyon. You will want to be sure to take a little time to walk around or drive around and take in the breathtaking views that are just steps away from the parking lot. And finally is the suspension bridge. This was built in 1911 across the Little Colorado River in hopes to make access across the gorge easier. The hope was that it would be easier to trade with the local Navajo and Hopi, as they would bring their wool, blankets, and livestock to trade for dry goods. The Cameron Trading Post was established by two brothers, Hubert and C.D. Richardson. The journey in those days could take days for a horse-drawn wagon. The guests here were always treated as family. They would feed and house them during their stay. The brothers were not just merchants, but they also understood the local dialect and customs. So the local Native American people trusted them in matters concerning not only the social systems that were being set up, but also the American legal system. Later on, when the roads improved and the interest grew, it became very convenient to the Grand Canyon and other nearby areas of interest, so it was very popular with travelers. The post hospitality accommodated these changes, and it maintained the role of its local community. I found it so interesting to find out that the Cameron Trading Post has existed for more than a century, and people who have worked here have done so for generations. The president of the company is himself a descendant of the original founders, and he maintains the philosophy of the hospitality and respect evident in the operations of the Cameron Trading Post today. Back to the suspension bridge. As things evolved, the purpose was to carry travelers from Flagstaff to the Utah border near Page. At that time, it was the longest suspension bridge west of the Mississippi River. It measures 660 feet in length. The suspension design was chosen because it was what they thought would work best to get across the canyon. In 1937, a herd of sheep damaged the structure while attempting to cross. Must have been one heck of a herd. It was later repaired and continued to serve vehicles until 1959. At that point, the Four Corners Pipeline Company purchased it. Today, the original bridge carries a natural gas pipeline only. A new bridge and highway are located right beside for travelers to use now. Thanks so much for watching my video. I hope you'll subscribe and follow me on all my other social media platforms: Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Substack. Substack's the location where you can get total travel itineraries, hints, tips, and all the great travel details.